another, snatched up a great, square, shimmering silver scarf that gleamed across a deserted chair, stretched it taut by its corners across her hair and eyes, and with a queer little cry, half defiance, half appeal, a quick dart, a long undulating glide, merged herself into the dagger blade, the nightingale, the grim mountain fortress, the gay mocking brook, all the love, all the rapture, all the ghastly fatalism of that heartbreaking song. Bent as a bow, her lithe figure curved now right, now left to the lilting cadence. Supple as a silken tube, her slender body seemed to drink up the fluid sound. No one could have sworn in that vague light that her feet even so much as touched the ground. She was a wraith, a fantasy, a fluctuant miracle of sound and sense. Tremulously the singer's voice faltered in his throat to watch his song come gray ghost true before his staring eyes. With scant restraint the crowd along the walls pressed forward, half pleasure mad, to solve the mystery of the apparition. Abruptly the song stopped. The dancer faltered. Lights blazed. A veritable shriek of applause went roaring to the rooftops. And little Eve Edgarton, in one wild, panic-stricken surge of terror, went tearing off through a blind alley of palms, dodging a cafe table, jumping an improvised trellis, 100 pursuing voices yelling, "Where is she? Where is she?" The tell-tale tinsel scarf flapping frenziedly behind her, flapping, flapping, till at last between one high garnished shelf and another it twined its vampirish chiffon around the delicate fronds of a huge potted fern. There was a jerk, a blur, a blow, the sickening crash of fallen pottery, and little Eve Edgarton crumpled up on the floor, no longer colorless, among the pale, dry rainbow tints and shrill metallic glints of that most wondrous scene. Under her crimson mask, when the rescuers finally reached her, she lay as perfectly disguised as even her most bashful mood could have wished. All around her, kneeling, crowding, meddling, interfering, frightened people queried, "Who is she? Who is she?" Now and again from out of the medley some one offered a half articulate suggestion. It was the hotel proprietor who moved first. Clumsily but kindly, with a fat hand thrust under her shoulders, he tried to raise her head from the floor. Barton himself, as the most recently returned from the dark valley, moved next. Futilely, with a tiny wisp of linen and lace that he found at the girl's belt, he tried to wipe the blood from her lips. "Who is she? Who is she?" The conglomerate hum of inquiry rose and fell like a moan. Beneath the crimson stain on the little lace handkerchief a trace of indelible ink showed faintly. Scowlingly Barton bent to decipher it. "Mother's little handkerchief," the marking read. "Mother's?" Barton repeated blankly. Then suddenly full comprehension broke upon him, and, horridly startled and shocked with a brand new realization of the tragedy, he fairly blurted out his astonishing information. "Why it's the little Edgarton girl!" he hurled like a bombshell into the surrounding company. Instantly, with the mystery once removed, a dozen hysterical people seemed startled into normal activity. No one knew exactly what to do, but some ran for water and towels, and some ran for the doctor, and one young woman with astonishing acumen slipped out of her silk white petticoat and bound it, blue ribbons and all, as best she could, around Eve Edgarton's poor little gashed head. "We must carry her upstairs," asserted the hotel proprietor. "I'll carry her," said Barton quite definitely. Fantastically the procession started upward. Little Eve Edgarton, white as a ghost now in Barton's arms, except for that one persistent trickle of red from under the loosening edge of her huge Oriental-like turban of ribbon and petticoat, the hotel proprietor still worrying eternally how to explain everything, two or three well-intentioned women babbling inconsequently of other broken heads. In astonishingly slow response to as violent a knock as they thought they gave, Eve Edgarton's father came shuffling at last to the door to greet them. Like one half paralyzed with sleep and perplexity, he stood staring blankly at them as they filed into his rooms with their burden. "Your daughter seems to have bumped her head," the hotel proprietor began with professional tact. In one gasping breath the women started to explain their version of the accident. Barton, as dumb as the father, carried the girl directly over to the bed and put her down softly, half lying, half sitting, among the great pile of night-crumpled pillows. Some one threw a blanket over her. And above the top edge of that blanket nothing of her showed except the grotesquely twisted turban, the whole of one white eyelid, the half of the other, and just that single persistent trickle of red. Rappishly at that moment the clock on the mantelpiece choked out the hour of 3. Already dawn was more than half a hint in the sky, and in the ghastly mixture of real and artificial light the girl's doom looked already sealed. Then very suddenly she opened her eyes and stared around. "Eve!" gasped her father. "What have you been doing?" Vaguely the troubled eyes closed and then opened again. "I was trying to show people that I was a rose," mumbled little Eve Edgarton. Swiftly her father came running to her side. He thought it was her deathbed statement. "But Eve," he pleaded, "why, my own little girl! Why, my—" Laboriously the big eyes lifted to his. "Mother was a rose?" persisted the stricken lips desperately. "Yes, I know," sobbed her father. "But—" "But nothing," mumbled little Eve Edgarton. With an almost superhuman effort she pushed her sharp little chin across the confining edge of the blanket. Vaguely, unrecognizingly then for the first time, her heavy eyes sensed the hotel proprietor's presence and worried their way across the tearful ladies to Barton's harrowed face. "Mother was a rose," she began all over again. "Mother was a rose. Mother was a rose," she persisted babblingly. "And father guessed it from the very first. But as for me—" Weakly she began to claw at her incongruous bandage. "But as for me," she gasped, "the way I'm fixed, I have to announce it." End of Part 2, Chapter 3